Hi, my name is Anis and I'll be giving an introduction on cheese. So cheese is actually a type of dairy product that is made from milk and it comes in many varieties. And this variety determines the ingredients, processing and characteristics of the cheese. Cheese can be made using pasteurized milk or even raw milk. Cheese that is made from raw milk imparts different flavors and texture characteristics to the finished cheese. For some cheese varieties, raw milk is given a mild heat treatment prior to cheese making to destroy some of the spoilage organisms and provide better conditions for the cheese cultures. Cheese made from raw milk must be aged for at least 60 days. This is to reduce the possibility of exposure to disease-causing microorganisms that may be present in the milk. Cheese can be broadly categorized as acid or rennet cheese and natural or processed cheese. Acid cheeses are made by adding acid to the milk to cause proteins to coagulate. Examples are cream cheeses or queso fresco. As for rennet cheese, calf rennet or more commonly a rennet produced through microbial bioprocessing is used. Calcium chloride is sometimes added to the cheese to improve the coagulation properties of the milk. Moving on is the bacterial cultures. Cultures for cheese making are called lactic acid bacteria. Why? This is because primary source of energy is the lactose in milk and their primary metabolic product is lactic acid. These are some examples of typical starter bacteria: Lactococcus lactis, subspecies Lactis or Primores, Streptococcus salivarius, subspecies Thermophilus, Lactobacillus helveticus, and lastly Lactobacillus delbrueckii, subspecies Bulgaricus.
The fermentation process involves three stages, which is upstream fermentation and downstream process.
Upstream process is the initial stage of the fermentation process. These include all steps that related to the development of microorganisms, including inoculum preparation, media preparation, and substrate preparation.
The upstream process in fermentation involves an inoculum development step, which is the preparation of a population of microorganisms from a stock culture to a state useful for inoculating a final production. This step is very important for product formation in substantial amount. The ultimate purpose of preservation is to maintain the strain if possible without cell division.
In cheese production, milk is often standardized before cheese making to optimize the protein to fat ratio to make a good quality cheese with a high yield and to remove the small extraneous particle.
In pasteurization process, the milk kills nearly all the microorganisms that present in the milk, including the pathogenic bacteria that cause disease. Raw milk cheese must be aged for at least 60 days to reduce the possibility of exposure to disease that caused by the pathogen that may be present in the milk. Then, the milk is cooled after pasteurization or heat treatment to 32 degrees Celsius to bring it to the temperature needed for the starter bacteria to grow.
Inoculate with starter and non-starter bacteria and ripen. The starter cultures and any non-starter adjunct bacteria are added to the milk and held at 32 degrees Celsius for 30 minutes to ripen. The ripening step allows the bacteria to grow and begin the fermentation, which will lower the pH and develop the flavor of cheese. The adding of rennet. Traditionally, rennet extracts is obtained from the frog stomach of young cow. Rennet enzyme is added to the milk after the starter culture was added. It functions as a coagulant that coagulates the milk protein to form curd. After the adding of rennet, the curd is not disturbed for approximately 30 minutes, so the coagulum will form. cutting coagulum and heating. The coagulum is allowed to ferment until it reaches pH 6.4. This heating is accompanied by stirring of the curd whey mixture and causes the cubes of curd to contract and thus express free whey. Draining whey. After heating is completed, the whey is drained from the vat and the curd forms a mat. This can be accomplished by draining whey from a vat that contains the whey curd mixture using appropriate precautions to prevent loss of curd. Texture curd. The curd mats are cut into sections and piled on top of each other and flipped repeatedly. This step is called cheddering. Cheddering helps to expel more whey, allows the fermentation to continue until a pH of 5.1 to 5.5 is reached, and allow the mats to meet together and form a tighter mat structure. The curd mats are then mined into smaller pieces. Dry, salt or brine. For cheddar cheese, the smaller mild curd pieces are put back in the vat and salted by sprinkling dry salt on the curd and mixing in the salt. In some cheese varieties such as mozzarella, the curd is formed into loaf and then the loaf are placed in the brine. Adding of salt contributes to the flavor, texture and appearance of cheese, controls production of lactic acid, suppresses growth of spoilage microorganisms and further reduces the amount of moisture in finished cheese. Pressing of curds. Curds are placed into a form sometimes called a hoop and pressure is applied hydraulically or through use of weights. Pressing gives the cheese its characteristic shape and contributes to its compactness. Free whey is expressed and kneading of curd particles is completed during pressing. Ripening of cheese. The finished cheese is placed in a room with controlled temperature and relative humidity and is held there for several months to several years depending on the variety of cheese and the extent of ripening that is desired. Lastly, package. Cheese may be cut and packaged into block or it may be waxed.
In conclusion, fermentation gives many advantages. Fermented food, such as cheese, are rich in probiotics that are abundant in fermented food that help sustain a healthy gut so it can absorb nutrient food. Other advantage is probiotic help the immune system because the gut develop antibiotic, anti-tumor and pathogen do not live in the acidic atmosphere that created by the fermented food. Fermentation also aids in the neutralization of anti-nutrients such as phytic acid, which can induce mineral shortage. Fermentation can boost the amount of vitamins and minerals in food, making them easier to absorb. The probiotic, enzymes, and lactic acid help boost B and C vitamins while also improving folic acid, riboflavin, niacin, thiamine, and biotin levels.